It's time now for our meditation. So if we can all just bring ourselves into this place, remove anything impeding from your lap, get comfortable, let your chair support you, and close your eyes if you're comfortable to do so. The greatest love of all is loving yourself. Wow. Using your inner vision and your imagination, just notice this divine light shining down, floating down, becomes a shower. It's a shower of pink light of love. It falls ever so gently around you. And you feel the warmth of it caressing your skin, just like a summer shower. And as we open our crown chakra and we expand that chakra, we let the light in, flowing through us. And it settles in that heart space. Our chest cavity is infilled with the gentle warmth of love. And now we feel our heart open. And it opens. It expands. And that love flows out. It touches our neighbor, the one sitting next to us. And it continues to grow. It fills the room. Love, pure love. It flows outside of this building. We are powerful in the way we can send that love around the world, embracing our Mother Earth and all sentient beings. And we rest for a moment in that presence of divine love, feeling the pulsations of its radiance, feeling the power of love in the silence. As you begin to come back to this time and place, wrap your arms around yourself and give yourself a hug and affirm, I am divine love expressing. I am divine love expressing. I am divine love expressing. And now you can begin to move those fingers and toes. Open your eyes when you're comfortable to do so. And come back into this moment. So how did that feel? Giving yourself a hug, doesn't that, it feels a little bit awkward, but doesn't it feel good? Yeah. So the title for my talk today is How Do I Love Me? And as I worked with this title, instead of let me count the ways, the question, why love me, came to my mind. And it's like I had to answer that question before I could figure out how to do it. So on January the 8th, I read the daily guides in the Science of Mind magazine every morning. On January 8th, the daily guide reads, "We began at a point, not in time but in consciousness, as cells. Heart cells produce heart cells, brain cells produce brain cells, and so on. We began as a loving consciousness created from itself." Grant really gets this. Each of us having its own variety, color, and size. Yet we all come from the same original, loving God consciousness. And we continue to be that loving consciousness, even though sometimes we don't know it. We're just unaware of it. And we may act in a non-loving way, not realizing who we really are and what our experience can be. And we might see others as separate from ourselves. But I love this. We each are a cell in the body of humanity, the body of God, G-O-D, global, omnipresent divinity. That's us, God expressing. And in our Unity and World Religions class this week, or last week actually, Reverend Paul John Roach, I always want to say his name backwards, Reverend Paul John Roach refers to Teilhard de Chardin and his work, The Phenomenon of Man. Chardin describes the unfolding of the cosmos and the evolution of man. He includes the concept of the noosphere that we've actually talked about here before, and the omega point, where all beings will rise to a new level of awareness in Christedness, a final point of unification. So this is what Chardin has to say, and it absolutely resonates with the teachings in Unity and New Thought. You are not a human being in search of spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being immersed in a human experience. It is our duty as men and women to proceed as if limits to our abilities do not exist. We are collaborators of creation. Someday, after mastering the winds, the waves, the tides, and gravity, we shall harness for God the energies of love. And then, for the second time in the history of the world, man will have discovered fire. So this is why love me. I am here having a human experience as a collaborator in creation to harness the divine energies of love. Doesn't that feel awesome? Really? We began as a loving consciousness created from itself, collaborating in creation, here to harness for God the energies of love. Well, I, for one, want to do my part to reach the omega point. I want to be conscious and aware of how I show up on a day-to-day basis. I want to live my life in the best conscious awareness that I can. but we all hit bumps on our spiritual path. You know, you wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Everything rubs you the wrong way this morning. How do you deal with that? Well, this is what Jesus did. Now, this story shows up in all 4 synoptic gospels. So that means to me it must have a pretty important message. The version of the story that I'm using today comes from John. I like John. He's the more mystical of the Gospels. So it comes from John 2:13 through 16. And it reads this way in the New Revised Standard Version. The Passover of the Jews was near, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. In the temple he found people selling cattle, sheep, and doves, and the money changers seated at their tables. Making a whip of cords, he drove all of them out of the temple, both the sheep and the cattle. He also poured out the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. He told those who were selling the doves, "Take these things out of here. Stop making my Father's house a marketplace." Well, I've always just heard that as a story. In doing Bible interpretation, New Testament or Christian scriptures have been more difficult for me because it's just so easy to hear the stories of Jesus. Well, metaphysically, I had a little help. I had a little help from Mark Hicks's Truth Unity, from Reverend Ed Rabel, and I had some other help in here too. It's a wonderful resource. So, metaphysically, the temple is our body, our inner being. And when our human self is in alignment with our divine self, we experience a wonderful sense of well-being. We keep on unfolding according to the divine plan. It's all wonderful until we wake up this morning and are on the wrong side of the bed. And for some reason, we fall out of alignment. We experience some kind of upset, some discord. It's time to go to Jerusalem. Jerusalem in this story is that place of abiding peace within. You know the quickest way to get to Jerusalem? Take a breath. Take a deep breath. Physically, what that does is what's the word I want? It activates the vagus nerve, and you relax. So there are 3 symbols in this story representing negative interfering influences: the animals, the merchandisers, and the money changers. They represent all those unnecessary, undisciplined, uncontrolled thoughts and beliefs, emotions that I'm just letting run loose in here, unchaperoned, as it were. So Jesus represents the spiritual awareness. So when we get into that place, we take a deep breath, we go to Jerusalem, and we put on our Jesus persona. And we start cleaning our spiritual house. We get our consciousness back in sync with our higher self. And aren't we glad we have free will and can always choose another way? That's one way I love me. I use self-awareness to observe, not necessarily with judgment, just to see how I'm showing up. I notice. For me, it's this higher self of me that sits over here and reminds me every once in a while of how I'm showing up. I listen to my body. When we start to get out of whack, don't we feel it in the solar plexus? And when things are right in our meditation, didn't we feel it in our heart? Pretty pretty much on a daily basis, I ask my guides and angels to step forward and shine some light on my path and help me through. So that's one way that I love myself too. When I'm out of whack, I need to let go of whatever is throwing me out of alignment. And you're going to hear that word a lot over the next 40 days. Let go and let God. Okay? So I need to let go of the anger. I need to let go of the resentment. I need to let go of beliefs that are no longer serving me. Whatever. I need to cleanse my temple and remember who and what I am. So, how do I love me? Let me count the ways now. Okay. Affirmations. Affirmations reset my mind. They refocus my energies. I borrowed this set from Reverend Linda Martella Whitsitt back in Easter of 19, and it lives on my refrigerator. Now, I don't look at them every day, but I look at them when I need them. So I want you to hear these for yourself too, because it's a truth of me and it's a truth of you. I am the refreshing, renewing spirit of divine life, stirring into life my dreams and intentions. I am the tenacious spirit of divine order, buoyant and resilient. I am the light of divine love, an embracing presence of healing and renewal. Some of you will remember our study of the eye of the storm and an exercise we did there called, Who Have You Come Here to Be? Well, this is who I aspire to be, and I'm a work in progress. Another way I love me, daily quiet time. Having regular spiritual practices. I have a ritual for my quiet time, sort of an invocation practice. I play some meditative music on Insight Timer. I light some incense. I ring my Tibetan bowl. And I pick up a prosperity card, which are Bible verses that Edwin Gaines put out some years ago. So each day I pick up one of those cards and I read it. And then I go sit down in my comfy chair. And I read Science of Mind, Daily Word, and sometimes something else. And recently I've added something else to my practice. This I will share, this came from my friend Sandy Eldermore. She shared this with me, and I have implemented it into my practice. So I have these 12 Powers cards. All of the prayer team has 12 Powers cards because we try to practice praying from our powers, praying from that God essence of ourselves. So, what I do is I sit down with my cards and I ask my guides and my angels, what do I need today? I look at how am I feeling. Am I feeling with it? Am I having some concern, some question? And then I say, okay, just help me, show me. What word, what power is going to help me on my path today? And then I shuffle those cards, and I shuffle them, and I shuffle them, and eventually I spread them out, and I pull one out. Well, 2 days when I was working on this talk, no matter how much shuffling I did, the wisdom card came up. And what is wisdom? Wisdom is discernment. I have within me, intuitively, what I need to pull this together, but my human side made me work a lot at it. This morning, I pulled cards again. Now I have some extra cards. My friends, the Holtons, have added a 13th power, and that is questioning unquestioned answers. Is that not perfect for what we're talking about today? How do I love me? Why do I love me? It always tells me something that I need to know. So once I've done all that, I quieten my mind as best I can, and I go into prayer and meditation. And I just sit with that for a while. Another how I love me is I read a lot of inspirational material. So I found this piece on Truth Unity. I'm so looking forward to hearing Mark Hicks next week. That is going to be wonderful. Anyway, so this piece comes from Love Powered Living by Winifred Wilkinson Hausman. You may recognize that name because she wrote the 12 Powers book that Reverend Donna likes so much. So this is from a different piece. Hausman says, love for a person will many times provide the impetus needed to break a harmful habit, taking care of myself. But, thank you, Tim, a healthy love for yourself can work as well. Think of yourself as a beautiful, wonderful, intelligent expression of life. Picture in your mind the mystical spark of life that animates nerves, muscles, communication systems, and all the other facets of the complicated physical mechanism, which is your body. Realize what a wonderful creation has been given into your care and keeping, and love it. Love it enough to use it wisely and treat it well. When you do, you'll find it easy to free yourself from any habit, no matter how deeply ingrained, which can mar this precious possession, the body God has given you to use and to enjoy. Love cannot heal your body while you continue to abuse it. But love can inspire you to free yourself from harmful habits. And when you no longer do the things which have caused physical difficulties, you can also be free from the wrong conditions built by past mistakes. So my focus for 2023 is loving my body. It's about taking care of, showing love for my human self while honoring my divine self. The first thing I do most mornings, another way of loving me, the first thing I do most mornings is I get up and I walk. I walk outside in nature, and it's generally about 3 miles, takes me an hour, give or take. And I commune, I engage with the birds, particularly hawks. I am into hawks. It's my spirit animal. So I have a hawk that I visit on my walk. There are the dogs from all the neighbors. There are the other birds, the trees. I love the trees. So nature is an important way of feeding ourselves. So while Hausman is talking from a spiritual standpoint here, she mentioned the communication systems, all of the nerves that animate our muscles and so forth. Well, in my quest for taking better care of myself, I discovered this book, The Power of the Downstate. Recharge your life using your body's own restorative systems. It's fabulous. I first listened to it before I actually bought the book, and I was blown away by Sarah Mednick, the writer. She reads the book herself for the audio. She has a great sense of humor. And this is a crash course in neurophysiology. That was kind of heavy for me. But she connects the dots between the organs and the neurons. She spends 7 chapters giving you all the science and the whys and wherefores. And then in chapter 8, she's got a 4-point plan. In 4 weeks, you can get yourself fixed. Well, this book came to me for a purpose. I was having some trouble with sleeping. And we've all heard about REM sleep. We know how important REM is, rapid eye movement sleep, for our dream state. Well, that's all fine and good, but she talks a lot about SWS, slow wave sleep. That was new to me. So slow waves coordinate with the heart. The waves, the brain has a slow wave cycle that connects with the heart. It slows the heart. It allows for the body to rest and restore our energies. Well, I can tell you I am sleeping better. I'm turning off my devices earlier. I've started a calming practice before bedtime. I've always been a night owl. I go to bed earlier now. And I find I really do need 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And I learned 1 milligram of melatonin is more effective for me than 10 milligrams. 10 milligrams can kind of click it to the other side. And a sleep mask helps. All of these are pointers from Mednick's book. So, now you know how I love me. How about you? How do you love your human self and your divine self? I'd like to close with a quote from Eric Butterworth. This was from the 1970s. Today, there's good evidence of the existence of a universal principle that is referred to often as syntropy. S-Y-N-T-R-O-P-Y, syntropy, which simply means the drive toward wholeness. The movement in biology, the movement in physical things, even in subatomic particles, the movement within man that is constantly working to restructure itself, to reform itself, to work toward what Teilhard Chardin calls the omega point, or perhaps what Jesus referred to as be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. In other words, in this is an innate drive toward wholeness. We have that in us, an innate drive toward wholeness, and we're all eventually going to get there. Wholeness toward self-perfection, which is the basis of healing. It's the basis of growth. It's the basis for the personal drive for excellence. So, I'm going to meet you at the omega point. Thank you all, and bless you all. It's time now for our blessings of gifts and tithes. And for those on Zoom, online, however, you can tap that donate button if you feel so moved. So, affirm with me our blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, that this is so.